Okay, so today we're going to do a deep dive into LLC taxation. It's a pretty important topic if you're thinking about starting a business
Yeah,
or
that's
if you
right.
already have one.
Huge.
Um, and we want to make sure that you understand how these things are taxed
Absolutely.
because it can really make a difference in your bottom line.
Yeah. You can save a lot of money if you know what you're doing. Or
Exactly.
you can lose a lot of money if you don't.
So
Yeah.
for those who maybe aren't familiar,
Mm-hmm.
LLC stands for limited liability company, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a popular structure for a lot of different reasons. But one of the main ones is that it offers some legal protection
Right.
for your personal assets.
Separates your business from your personal stuff.
Exactly. So your
Exactly.
personal stuff is protected from
Right.
business debts and lawsuits and things like that.
Yeah, no one wants to lose their house because of a business venture gone wrong.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So, but the tax side of things can get a little tricky.
Yeah, it can be.
So we're here to try to demystify it a little bit today.
Break it down.
Yeah. And one of the big things we learned in our research for this episode is this idea of pass-through taxation.
Right.
Um, and it sounds like a major perk of going the LLC route.
It can be. Yeah.
Can you explain kind of what that means?
Yeah, so pass-through basically means that the LLC itself isn't being taxed.
Okay.
So the profits and losses from the business, they pass through the business and go directly to the owners,
Okay.
and they're reported on their individual income tax returns.
Gotcha. So it's not like the business itself is paying taxes.
Exactly, it's the individuals.
Okay. So how does that benefit me as a business owner?
Well, think about it this way. Let's say your LLC makes $100,000 in profit.
Okay.
With this pass-through taxation, you avoid that corporate tax rate that a traditional corporation would pay.
Oh, interesting.
So you could potentially save thousands of dollars right off the bat.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
With a traditional C-Corp, the corporation itself would be taxed on that $100,000, and then you'd be taxed again on any dividends.
Oh, so you're getting double tax.
You got it. That's the double taxation everyone wants to avoid.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
But I'm also seeing here in our research about self-employment taxes.
Right.
So, I mean, it sounds great, this pass-through taxation, but it's not like a completely free ride, is it?
Well, nothing's ever completely free, right? So
Right.
even though the LLC itself isn't paying taxes, the owners are still considered self-employed,
Okay.
which means they're responsible for paying self-employment taxes, which cover Social Security and Medicare.
So that's in addition to my regular income tax.
Exactly. It's an extra tax you have to pay as a self-employed individual.
So if I were like working for somebody else,
Right.
they would withhold those taxes from my paycheck.
Exactly. Your employer would take care of that for you.
But because I'm self-employed,
You're your own boss.
they got to pay both halves.
You are both the employee and the employer, so you're responsible for both sides of those taxes.
Okay. That's definitely something to keep in mind.
Definitely.
Now, we're also seeing here that there are different tax classifications for LLCs.
Yes. There are.
We see things like sole proprietorship, partnership, S-Corp.
Hmm.
How do I know which one is right for me? And like,
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right?
yeah, and how does that affect my taxes?
Well, choosing the right classification, it really depends on your specific situation.
Okay.
You know, the size of your business, the type of business you have, how many owners there are, what your goals are for the business.
Gotcha.
Each classification has its own, kind of pros and cons when it comes to taxes.
Okay.
So you really want to think carefully about these things.
So there's no like one size fits all.
No, not at
Try
all.
with that.
If you're just starting out and you're the only owner, a sole proprietorship might be the simplest option.
Okay.
But as your business grows, you might want to consider switching to an S-Corp because it can offer some tax advantages, especially as your profits increase.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's not a set it and forget it type of thing. You got to stay on top of it.
Yeah, it seems like there are a lot of moving pieces here.
There are.
One thing we noticed in our research was that a lot of these resources mentioned services like Inc. Authority
Yeah.
for setting up an LLC.
Uh-huh.
And they claim that using a service like this can help with smart tax planning.
Right from the start. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think having some expert guidance, especially when you're first starting out, can be really, really valuable.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting the paperwork filed correctly.
Right.
It's about really understanding all of your options
Yeah.
and making sure that you choose the right structure for your business so that you can minimize your tax liability in the long run.
It's not just about,
Right.
checking a box.
Exactly. It's about setting up your business for success from the ground up.
Yeah. So you're not running into problems down the road.
Exactly. You want to avoid those headaches later on.
Okay, so to kind of recap what we've learned today,
Yes.
LLCs offer the potential for some really great tax benefits through that pass-through taxation.
Right.
But you have to understand self-employment taxes and the different classifications and all of that.
It's not as simple as it might seem at first glance.
Yeah. And getting help with that setup process can make a big difference.
Absolutely.
And maybe save you some money down the line.
Potentially a lot of money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as our listeners are kind of thinking about all this and maybe doing some of their own research, what is something that they should really keep in mind?
I would say this. Think about how your specific industry might impact your tax strategy.
Okay.
You know, there could be industry-specific deductions or credits or regulations that apply to you.
That's a great point.
So do your research and maybe even talk to a tax professional in your industry.
Yeah, that's great advice.
You want to make sure you're taking advantage of everything that's available to you.
Absolutely. Well, this has been a really informative deep dive.
Yes, it has.
I feel like we've covered a lot.
You've just scratched the surface, but it's a good starting point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So listeners, if you're thinking about starting an LLC or already have one, definitely do your research and, potentially consult with a tax professional.
It's an investment that can pay off big time.
Exactly. Well, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you next time
See you later.
for another deep dive.
Bye.